everybody, my name's Sarah and today we're going to be cooking for my dog Kingsley. I've baked a lot before, but I've never baked for him, so it's going to be a first for both of us. To start, we went online and looked for a recipe that was simple and included peanut butter, which is of course his favorite ingredient. We're going to put the link in the description in case you'd also like to try baking for your pup. To make these treats, you'll need 2.5 cups of flour, 2 eggs, a half a cup of canned pumpkin. And I just want to note here that in order for it to be dog safe, you want to get the pure pumpkin. Make sure that it's not the pumpkin pie mix. We'll also need 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, as well as a half teaspoon each of ground cinnamon and salt. So, now that we've got all of our ingredients, we're ready to start mixing things together. I always like to begin by mixing my dry ingredients and my wet ingredients separately, so I think we're going to do that here. So first we've got our whole wheat flour, and then we've got our salt and our ground cinnamon, and we're just going to give those a little mix. And this will just make sure that the cinnamon and the salt gets properly dispersed throughout the dough. And then next we're going to mix together our wet ingredients. So of course we've got our eggs. Then we've got our pumpkin. And then lastly our peanut butter. What's completely unsurprising is that I took out the peanut butter and now I have a dog beside me. Hi! So we're just going to mix these together the best we can. And of course, the better we combine the wet ingredients now, the easier it will be to stir everything into the dry ingredients after. So now what we can do is we can slowly start adding our dry ingredients to our wet. And we'll just go a bit at a time to make it easier to add them. Okay, so as you can see, things are looking very dry here. So what I did is I went and looked at the comments on the recipe, and it turns out other people have had this issue as well, and they've kind of adjusted by adding a bit of extra pumpkin. So we'll add probably an extra heaping half cup or so of pumpkin to see if we can fix this. This totally goes against my rules of mixing wet and dry ingredients first, by the way. So I think we're a bit closer here, but we're not quite there. So I think I'm gonna add another 1/4 cup of pumpkin. Okay, so this is looking quite a bit better. As you can see, I've been able to kind of form it into a bit of a ball, which is what we really want with a cookie or biscuit dough type of recipe. Before it was just way too crumbly, but this looks a lot better. So I think what we're gonna do now is we're gonna clean up this whole area and get ready to roll. So we realized after we were finished with mixing the dough that it was a bit stickier than we thought. So we ended up putting it in the fridge for about 20 minutes just to help it set up a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flour our cleaned up surface. I'm going to use a decent amount of flour just because we already know that the dough is fairly sticky like we said. I'm also going to flour our rolling pin. And then once I've got my dough out here, I'm also going to add flour to the dough. This is just to make sure that we don't see any sticking at all. So our goal here is going to be to get the dough to about a 1/2 inch thick. We don't really want to go much thinner than that because there's no baking powder or anything in here, so there's really not a lot that's going to cause our dough to rise. There's no way that this guy cannot smell the peanut butter and the pumpkin. Get your nose out of here. Okay, so for our cookies, we actually purchased some dog bone shaped cookie cutters. They came in a package. There was also some fire hydrants and some paw prints. We'll also put that link down in the description if you are in the market for some dog friendly cookie cutters as well. But for these treats, I'm going to use 2 different sizes so that we have some small ones for when we just want to give a little treat and some bigger ones for when we want to give a big treat. So let's try and fit as many as we can on here. That actually looks pretty good. You guys can see over here, I'm just putting them straight onto the cookie sheet so that we don't have to move them any more times than we need to. So the tiny ones might cook a little faster than the larger ones just due to their size. The recipe does say to cook until they're hard either way, but if you notice that they're browning a little too quickly, you could always take them out a bit sooner than the larger ones. So as you can see, that actually rolled out pretty well once we had chilled it for a while and added the extra flour. Now I'm just going to clean up here quickly, and then there's just one more finishing touch I'd like to add before we put the cookies in the oven to bake. So as I mentioned earlier, I have one finishing touch that I really want on these cookies before I send them to bake. We were able to find this cookie stamp. They come with every letter of the alphabet a couple times over, so you can spell out whatever you want and then you can stamp them into the cookies. Of course, we'll put the link in the description for these as well. Okay, so we're all done stamping, and I think they turned out really great. They look so cute. So with our big cookies here, we have them all stamped with a treat, and then our little cookies, we have tiny K's, of course for Kingsley, on them. So the next step is obviously to bake these cookies, and I'm hoping we can still read them just as well when they come out of the oven. So we have our oven set to 350 degrees, and we're gonna bake them for about 40 minutes, or at least that's what the recipe says. We're gonna be careful, we're gonna keep an eye on them and just make sure that our oven isn't a little hot or something like that. So we're probably gonna check them maybe after 20 minutes and then after 30 minutes just to make sure they're okay. And like we mentioned before, the little ones also might bake a little faster than the big ones, so we wanna keep an eye out for that. Essentially what you're looking for is you just want a hard, regular biscuit-like texture rather. Okay, so it's been about 40 minutes and the treats are out of the oven and on the cooling rack. As you can see, they held their shape really well, and they actually still have the imprint of the letters in them, which I'm really excited about. So the little treats took about 30 minutes to bake, as we expected, and the larger treats took the full 40. After 30, they were a little bit soft still, so we definitely want to keep them in for the extra 10 minutes. But anyway, I think they look great, so without further ado, let's call Kingsley and see if he enjoys them as much as I think he will. Kingsley! Oh, you're here. Hi! Would you like a treat? What do you think? Oh. Looks like a yes. Okay, well, I'm definitely gonna call that a success. He clearly loved it. He ate it so quickly. We're gonna post a revised copy of the recipe down in the description in case you'd like to try making them yourselves. Please leave us a comment as to how it turns out for you and if there's anything else that you'd like to see us make in the future. Thanks for watching. Until next time.